Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's TV. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage, and I've got to remind you to get out to Union, Omaha. They had a couple matches over the last few days that you definitely should have been out at, but we've got some more coming up as always, because there's always more Union Omaha. After a little road trip this week on the 5th, they'll be back in town June 13th here at Warner Park. Make sure you get to unionomaha.com to get tickets. It is part of the Special Olympics Unified Series, this match, and it is also a Pride Night and Thrifty Thursday. You don't want to miss out on all that coming up a week from Thursday. Get to unionomaha.com for tickets. As we wait for Sam McKewon here.
Shane, you just need to call him back in a couple minutes, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
So it'll be just a few minutes when we get to Sam McKewon from the Omaha World-Herald. There's, I think there's some interesting sort of, this is a weird term for it, but like in the risk analysis world, when we are looking back on, we call it a postmortem.
Yeah,
after the thing is dead.
Along came Polly.
Yeah, like as you kind of have some post-mortem thoughts about Nebraska's baseball season, I think there's some interesting questions that we started to address last week about kind of who and what the program should be.
Yeah, tried to set that when I bristled up last week, right? I just think
you got mad. Ooh.
Because I just think we act like the baseball program isn't good.
Well, that's not what I'm acting like.
It's a good baseball program.
Are you willing to hear me say the baseball program is good? I'm just respecting the high-end level of talent in the state that much.
Oh, okay. I like the backhanded compliment. Sure,
it's not a backhanded compliment. Like,
I mean, I'll take it. I'm not going to die on that hill. I know what you're trying to say. You're like, I think you're saying Nebraska has a lot of really good high school baseball
This
talent.
is more about the high school baseball talent than it is Nebraska University of Nebraska baseball.
But you used one as the barometer for the other, which drew the.
I understand that.
You know what I mean?
But I do think they're connected as well. Or they need to be.
We have Sam, by the way.
Ultimately.
Well, let's ask this guy. He gives us some smart answers. Sam McKewon from the Omaha World-Herald. How are you, Sam?
Sam, good morning. How are you? You there, Sam? Shane, does Sam know that you punched him up?
Apparently not, but I'll call him back.
All right.
He sounds like he's trying to talk to us from very far away.
Yeah, maybe the moon.
I think I heard a hello in there.
Hello, friend. Hello. So back to your Ruben Pfeiffer. That's his character in the book. So what do you think, Ruben?
I think we need to have a real and realistic conversation about what long-term is success for Nebraska baseball.
Nebraska baseball should be making runs at Big Ten championships every year.
Okay, fair.
They should be in the postseason every year.
I don't disagree. I think I'll call it 8 out of 10 years. I'll give them a little leeway. 8 out of every 10 years, they should be in a regional.
6 teams get in, right?
From where?
To the postseason tournament. To Big Ten.
Oh, I'm talking about regionals, not Big Ten. They should be in the Big Ten tournament every year. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Full stop.
Okay.
I'm talking about 7 to 8 out of 10 years they should be in
a regional?
NCAA regionals.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Is that a fair number?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right, Sam.
Which is about the pace that they're on.
Yeah, Sam, do we have you here?
Hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you. Sam, are you in Pluto, Neptune? Where are you, my guy?
I'm at home.
Oh,
I think there's something wrong with my headphones today. I'm not sure what's going on.
I'm at home. The rare occasion we actually catch you sitting still is the only time we've ever had it.
My headphones. Sorry about that.
You didn't help any of the new guys move in over this weekend, or what?
I'm sure you did.
No. I know I was done. So, yeah, we got that over with a couple weeks ago. I did have a player ask me for an air fryer, so I may take him up on that. We have a couple. I don't even know the rules though. If you can have air fryers in the suites, I'm sure you can, but
I don't know.
Of
You
course.
better check on that.
I don't know,
I had
Sam.
worse than my dorm, that's for sure.
Sam, nobody. So anybody that's having this conversation, the four of us, if you include half of Shane, so 3.5 of us, nobody's dorms looks like the suites that the players are staying in. It's not even. I don't even know, Sam, if I would move off campus. To be honest, I don't. I mean, I guess I would take this. So it's the numbers game, right? Not to go all Coastal Carolina baseball coach here and hate on NIL, but you'd have to weigh the risk of getting a scholarship check, moving off campus, and finding a cheap enough place to stay with a roommate where you could still pocket money.
Yeah.
Versus getting your living expense and staying in the dorm. Because the suites are unbelievable. You don't even have to see your roommate if you don't want to. Just close the door.
Yeah, that's
They have a living
you know,
room. Like, shoot, it's not a bad deal at all.
the cost of living, I don't know how to, like, the cost of rent in Lincoln is going up like it is in most places. So, yeah, it's not easy anymore. And, you know, the landlords don't have to say, well, you're a Husker athlete, I'll give you a discount. That's not how that works. So,
Yeah.
they got to make it.
That was the unintended consequence, wasn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it was. Yeah, like, well, not even that. Like, they just, the nature of housing today, it is a what you might call it's a tight buyer's market and a tight rental market in Lincoln. There's not enough houses. There's not enough apartments, not enough houses, not enough everything. So that's just the reality of the city at this point. That hopefully that changes.
Yeah, I don't know if the housing market's coming back anytime soon because there's like that window of like first home buyers and stuff like that are super squeezed out in Omaha too. It's a tough market.
If it makes you feel better, it's a national problem. It's not just us. It's probably better here than most places, honestly.
It's definitely a national problem.
Sam, we were talking about as we were bringing you on here, kind of what the expectations for Nebraska baseball should be sort of moving forward, right? I think we all, or most people who are paying attention to the program think Will Bolt's doing a good job. And if they don't, then they probably need to look a little closer at the track record. He's done well so far, I think, and is moving in the right direction. But what to you do you think is a reasonable, consistent level for them to be asked to get to? Is it just getting to regionals every year? Do they have to break through and make a super every once in a while? Like, what should Nebraska baseball be?
Well, I think, the old line from Moneyball was, it was Billy Bean's job to get the A's to the playoffs, right? And so what happened once you got there, and I'm not saying that I believe in Moneyball 193%, but my point being that the job is to get there. And preferably, you would like to host, because the percentages of regional hosts that make it to the super regionals, it's high. I don't know what it is. I mean, this year it's probably going to be 10 out of 16 or something. And so ideally you want to host, which means you got to be one of the top 16 teams in the country. But the goal is to make it to a regional and preferably host that regional. And then from there, I think it's kind of, I wouldn't call it quite a crapshoot. I think it's more than that. But, there's some variability involved. Kansas State is going to a super regional, and I don't think they're a better baseball team than Nebraska, but I do think they got a better regional. I think they got, they're a 3 seed, and the 2 seed they got was Louisiana Tech. Well, that's different than Florida, which is a 3 seed masquerading. It's really a high 2 masquerading as a 3, and you never want that. That's a hard thing, because if Florida decides it wants to play really well, they're going to beat you because they got better players. And so you don't want to draw that. The 2 teams I hoped Nebraska would not draw were UConn and Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And UConn because UConn's good, and Florida is because they got a lot of talent, and they flexed their muscles over the weekend. And they played really well. They might even win this regional. Oklahoma State is there, but Nebraska was not competitive with Florida. Florida dominated those two games. Let's be honest. And so, I think you've got to find a way to get into the right regional. And if you do that, then you might make your way to the Super. And if you do that, then you might make your way to the CWS. The thing's got to break your way. And so I think that's probably the goal from here on out. If you want more than that, like if you want a larger goal, and the goal is, okay, basically to be one of the top 10 teams in the country every single year, I think Will Bolt would say, okay, well, then we've got to figure out a way to invest in our program that's commensurate with attracting those kids, whether that's a pitching staff or, some sort of training facility out there. I'm not saying that's a silver bullet, but I am saying that, like, salary for coaches alone isn't going to get that done. I think they've got a head coach that knows his stuff, and they've got one of the better pitching coaches in the country, who is a former head coach himself and is willing to work at Nebraska at a discounted rate. If that guy went to LSU, he'd be making more money. And so it's not about salaries. I think they would say, well, we need to find a way to get a few more things in here that attract those players. There's two guys, for example, that aren't going to Nebraska, who were sort of the captains of the all-Nebraska baseball team. I don't know if they're going to their colleges at all. They may go to the major leagues, but those guys aren't going to Nebraska. And I think that there's a sense there of, well, if those guys were going to Nebraska would be a better baseball team next year. And so I think that's probably the area, is how do you get the best recruits in the state? How do you keep guys here when, Perfect Game, which is I don't know how to put it, but, showcases and travel ball takes you to the South.
Yeah.
And it becomes very appealing. Like, how do you keep the kids here? That's going to be the challenge. If you want a higher standard than making a regional, you're going to have to examine those things, irrespective of who the head coach is.
Hey, Sam,
so I think Will Bolt could do that either way. Go ahead.
Even though baseball probably stands a better chance to be more self-sustaining than high school football relative to the rest of the country, not, why do you think the mindset is different in terms of keeping in-state talent at home in baseball than it is in football? Why is it do you think it's a much bigger priority in football? Because I get it, right? For every Harvey and Komine and but you have a Povich, Jake Meyer, and an Alex Gordon too, right? So why do you think it's gotten away from baseball locally?
That's a good question. I think because we probably don't spend as much time covering it. I think the media coverage of it is notable.
So if we knew more about the high school guys, we would make a bigger deal about them staying home.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
The same amount of attention,
Yeah,
right? If we follow Cam Cozio like we
Right.
do Carter Nelson,
right? Yes, I think that's part of it. The biggest miss was Alec Bone. Like the guy that went to Wichita State. That was probably the biggest miss of all, given what he's doing now.
I get it, Sam, but he did go to multiple high schools, kind of flew under the radar. Like, I don't know. Maybe.
But, again, like, I don't want to – baseball's a little trickier. If there's no guarantee that these players will go to college and be great.
Yeah.
You could argue that, I don't know, Aaron Judge is one of the 5 best players in the major leagues. He hit 18 home runs in college at Fresno State. And he didn't have his coming out party until the CWS home run thing in Omaha. Yeah. Kyle Peterson and the other guy were talking about that yesterday. Like, Aaron Judge did not have a distinguished collegiate career. He didn't. He just didn't. And then all of a sudden, it happened. So, like, baseball's tricky that way. I think there's some kids who, because they grow up in Omaha around the CWS, they fall in love with other teams. They're at the CWS all the time. And, they get the hats, and they have the hats. And Arkansas's here all the time. And, Arizona State or whomever we would be talking about, well, they're here. And so it's almost like you see them more often. If a kid wanted to go to Tennessee, I don't know that I'd blame it. I mean, that coach is compelling, and the uniforms and the whole thing. I don't personally like the all gray uniforms that they wear, but some people do. And so, it's always those things. It's small little things. In football, I think we've covered it for a long time, and also, in-state players have been the lifeblood of that program's success. And I understand how many other players come from other places. So, but like Nebraska, 2 Heisman winners, 2 of the 3 Heisman winners come from Nebraska, and so on and so forth. We could go on and on with that. So probably coverage, I think some of it is. And then in basketball, it doesn't make much difference. But in basketball, there's other stuff at play.
Yeah, and I don't think the talent is as high. I think you get into a different discussion than you do maybe softball, baseball, or football.
For sure. Basketball is a trickier conversation. That I will say there's going to be a kid, here in 2 weeks from Aurora, Nebraska, is going to be taken in the first round of the NBA draft, and Nebraska did not manage to offer that kid out of high school. Not only that, I will then be told by every single person who covered college basketball or recruiting that they shouldn't have. Well, they shouldn't have done it. He didn't deserve it. Okay. You don't understand. No, I don't understand. That's right. I don't. You're correct.
Sam with the very hot take.
That was the proper level. Okay. All right.
Sam with the very hot take that Nebraska should offer first-round draft picks.
South Dakota State, that was the place to go. You don't understand. Creighton didn't offer him. Well, Creighton's a lot better than Nebraska. And then he ended up going to Creighton. So, people keep acting like Nebraska is like this high major program, and they're not. Like South Dakota State's been to more NCAA tournaments in the last 10 years of Nebraska. Nebraska should offer like they're a mid-major.
Wow.
If you can develop like South Dakota
State in the state and develop them,
yeah,
and not think of themselves as a major program, because that's not what. Now Fred's getting them in the right direction, and good for him, but they've not been that. So why would you act like we can't take that guy? He's not Big Ten ready. Well, your program, with the exception of last year, has not been Big Ten ready. So,
wow. Hot
that's
take
not
Monday.
that big of a deal. So basketball's different. All these kids Nebraska was not able or should not have taken. You shouldn't have taken that player. Well, he was very good. I know, but it doesn't matter. It's Kyrie Thomas, it's whomever. It's like, can't take those players in the Big Ten? What if we don't win? You're not winning. So what difference does it make?
Sam, let me ask you something, because I felt like we saw this with Danny Kaelin and a couple of other guys in recent memory, where sometimes familiarity breeds a little contempt, right? Just it's because we see somebody so much, we have our minds made up. Like if I see Cole Eaton, if I've watched Cole since he's in the seventh grade or whatever, 5th grade, versus only seeing him a couple of times over at Elkhorn South, do I think about the projection differently? Because what if recency actually has a bias to the bad?
Yeah, no question about it. Yep, that is I think there's an overfamiliarity, and this is true everywhere you go, right? Like everywhere you go, and it's true in our own life. Like we look at our own family members more critically. We know everything we know about our siblings or about our kids. And so we always think our own kids are acting up in ways that no other kid in the history of the planet would. And that's not true. A lot of people are relatively the same. And there are a few athletes that escape that scrutiny and that kind of criticism. There have been a few. I think Carter Nelson, to be honest with you, has been almost universally praised, and that's good. I think he's done
although for me, full disclosure, I've seen too much, which is probably why I'm more critical. Or I wouldn't say critical. I'm not as
You're more skeptical.
I'm a little more skeptical than most.
Yes. So I there's a few guys that I think have been, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we can certainly become overly familiar with players. And again, in football, it's tricky, and there's a bunch of considerations to work through. And but But yeah, like, I think we can be over familiar. I think it can turn into, well, that guy's not that good. He got beat on this day by this guy over here, and that guy's not even a D1 recruit. I think that's just natural. I just feel like I've seen it more in basketball. Well, that guy can't play there. Or that guy's transferring to Wisconsin, but he couldn't have played there. Or that guy's transferring now to USC, but he wasn't good enough out of high school. That guy's going to.
You can keep preaching the St. Thomas. I love it.
And the crazy thing is, this Saint is really good.
That guy's not raw. And again, I know that what I'm like, I am free. I have the advantage of being completely naive. That's an advantage that I have in this sense. I don't know the inner workings of high school basketball the way that the two of you do. I don't know. So I have the advantage of being naive and innocent in that way. There's probably dynamics that I don't understand, and I am ill-informed or under-informed. I would argue that in the world of recruiting, sometimes it's an advantage not to know. Yeah. And it can be an advantage not to be aware. Yeah. And that, I probably operate on relativity a lot more than most people do. And so I would say, a 3-star here probably isn't all that different from a 3-star somewhere else, or a low 4 and a low 3. There's really no difference between those two players. There's a difference between the number 4 player in the country and the number 50 player in the country. The number 4 player in the country is probably pretty damn good. Getting the number 4 player in the country matters. We got the number 237th player versus the number 327th player. Doesn't have that much. Mm-hmm. And so, relatively. And so, I kind of operate in that zone more than other people do. And so, I'm innocent or naive of some of those things. So I freely admit that I'm less informed on some of these in-state basketball players. I just know they're going to power conference schools, and it's not Nebraska. We're crazy this year, and these kids are pretty good. And so, it's worth noting. And then as a journalist, I get to be the person that asks the annoying question or brings up the annoying point. Well, all these players seem to be pretty good, and they're going to good programs. Why didn't they come here? And then I get to be told that I don't understand. And maybe I don't understand. That's accurate.
Or maybe the people that do understand just miss. Sam McKewon from the Omaha World-Herald. Sam, great stuff as always. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week.
Basketball.
Thanks, Sam.
Gave us plenty to chew on for the next couple of segments. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. He just took a flamethrower to, I think, the local recruiting scene. We'll get into that next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.